Thank you so much again, Shiori, for your powerful work and for joining us here today. It's really been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to meet you. So thank you so much for... I won't cry. Do what Sabrina Carpenter does and like cry to the floor. But thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll start our Q&A session. So we're also joined by Professor Allison, academic superstar, legendary anthropologist. So it's really an honor to be sharing the floor with Shiori Itō and Allison. So we'll start off with Professor Allison, and then we'll open the floor for questions as well. So thank you so much.
So, what an amazing film. The story is incredibly powerful. And for those of us who have worked for a long time in Japan, it resonates in so many different octaves for us. And so we probably don't want to hog the floor. We're sure that there will be many responses and questions from you all. But one of the things that we were talking about earlier when you were with Kimberly's class was the response in Japan. And for such a stunning story and with such courage that you show in being able to come forth and share your story, both as a journalist and as a survivor, it's still surprising to me that there hasn't been more of a response, from the public, and we were also talking about the feminist response. So would you mind saying a little bit more about the response in Japan and why you don't feel, or why you feel that there hasn't been more of an outrage and more support to the story and to the film and to the book?
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, first of all, really being here. As a filmmaker, it's such an honor to get the film seen and being able to talk about it and to see the reaction. So I know it wasn't your maybe easy Thursday night watch, so well done. Thank you so much. And I'm sure probably, for some of you, it reminded you many things in the past. So I want you to take really good care of yourself tonight. This film was first premiere at Sundance Film Festival in 2024, so about more than 2 years ago. And we fortunately went to the Oscars, which was so unexpected last year. And we did have some, plan to screen this film in Japan, knowing how difficult it's gonna be. But the first plan was, around Oscar time, so about a year ago, but it was cancelled. And we were able to screen over 60 countries, and Japan was, the last one to show. And
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really hard journey to screen, and by the time we found amazing, brave theater to screen, we just didn't know how many, days we can do, or maybe we're gonna get stopped again. And after I screened the film, oops, someone's calling, sorry. It was sort of, I never got an interview by Japanese media, and although I want to talk so much about it, but people who watched the film kept start talking, and it's actually still in a cinema. And yes,
It opened in December?
Yes, December, and it's expanded to over 80 theaters now, just purely by people speaking. And although we had so many pushback, and I can talk about this, but I know we have limited time. But this time I was kind of broken because pushback wasn't only from people who used to, you know, give me a hard time, who had conservative political idea, or someone who maybe was supporting ex-Prime Minister Abe, and but this time it was also from some feminist or some quite liberal journalists, so that was quite shocking to me. And that would be amazing theme to, I guess, do some research about.
We're at a university, many students in the
But
audience.
thanks, Ree. Going through, university visit like this, I got to talk to amazing professors, scholars, and students, and I start seeing from different perspective, understanding. It's still hard to understand what is going on, but I think I'm slowly start understanding. Maybe that happened. Maybe. But yeah, it's so hard to speak with like one way. It's very many layers of I think cultural, social things. And but what I can say is that I believe in power of cinema. People who watch the film, I could talk about it. I could, first I was so scared to come to after film screening in Japan, and I was really nervous, but people who watched it did understand why I made a film and why we tried to bring it back to Japan. And so to be able to talk to them after screening, that was really helpful to me. So yeah, even though it's still limited place to show, I think today's world, when all the information is so fast and everything happens so quickly, I think it's such a amazing debord for yourself to, you decided today to spend your Thursday night for 100 minutes of your life. That's a lot, and you have to come here. Maybe you have to skip something. That's a lot of commitment as well. And maybe you don't know who you're sitting next to, but then you share this space together. And I think that's something you don't get the experience, if you watch the film on laptop or on your phone and be able to talk like this. So I really believe in now in cinema, and that's what I really enjoy. Yeah, seeing.
Do you want to ask some, or do you want me to ask one more?
Oh, please ask one more. Then I have one.
Okay. So there was a news story that I read, I think it came across the news yesterday, about young people in Japan.
Oh.
And not very good news.
Oh.
About how young people were didn't have good feelings about the future. That they ranked, I don't know if anyone else saw this, they ranked pretty low in hope for the future, and also pretty low in hope for the future of Japan. And you, in your film, you have a quote from Abe-san, who is saying something about hope for the future, thinking if you vote for LDP, that would be hope for the future. But I was wondering also, your film, although it's about a hard story, the fact that you would have the courage to come forth and speak should generate hope. And I was wondering if you could say something about young people in Japan, and what advice would you give them? I mean, you took the course of being a journalist and being a filmmaker, and what would you say to young people in Japan?
I realize I'm already, mid-30, so I'm no longer that age, so I don't think I can speak for them. But, talking to my little sister even, I realized that we had a completely different idea of hope. She was extremely scared to be associated with me, so that was one of the reasons why she stopped me to go public, because she thought she would never get a job if someone knew that her sister. But once she got a job, she told me she's gonna get married by 25. And as a feminist sister, I'm like, but I knew if I say something, she would never talk to me, so I didn't. And I see her, she didn't get married by 25, and she changed the job, and she's looking for what she loves, so I'm very happy to see. But our idea of, I guess, state, yeah, it's hard for talk to generalize, but what I see is that because I guess Japanese economy is not doing well, the only way to survive is really trying to stay or get married. That's I think automatically what was my little sister was thinking, and I'm sure that's not like how, you know, she grew up. Somehow she grew into it, right? I don't know, but now I see her doing different thing, but my advice, not just Japanese young people, but I think is that you have to find you have to believe that there is community that you can survive outside of your community, because I think that's what silences us, knowing this is the place where we have to survive. I think, let's say, a school, yes, it's such a closed community, and I guess university is a bit different, but if you're middle school, high school, or elementary school, you have to survive there. It's not really your choice to move around, and that makes life hard. But to believe and know, no, there is a different community, different art world outside, then maybe that would be easier. And for me, I think that was the key. When I went public, I couldn't, keep working. I couldn't even stay at my place, and I got a phone call through Skype. It wasn't Zoom, it was Skype back then, and from my producer, who became my best friend and decided to work together. My other friends who I didn't know back then, but they said they were living in London, and they say, I know it must be so hard for you, so move to UK. And that's how it happened. Somehow I was helped by people I didn't even know outside of Japan. But if they didn't help me, I have to really struggle and survive, and maybe didn't do what I did now. And just knowing, there is a way to even escape. Escape is okay, to find a new place, and that really helped me. So, but then I realized that I've been meeting amazing Japanese women, who is very talented outside of Japan. So again, it's Japanese loss, Japanese people's loss that's happening. So that's unfortunate. Yeah.
Great answer. Yeah. We'll pass it over to her.
So once again, it's such an honor to be sharing this stage, call it a stage with you two. Shiori, your work is amazing and inspiring, and you've done such incredible work on themes of gender, precarity, sexuality in Japan. So thank you so much for being a part of this. The question I have is about politics, fun stuff. So just kind of reviewing like statistics related to gender equity in Japan and thinking of the current moment. Within the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Index of 2025, Japan ranked 118th out of 148 countries.
Wow, that was 121 last year.
Yeah. So yes, I guess. And in terms of like economic participation opportunity, Japan ranked 112. So I think from the outside, I've heard some folks say that having a woman prime minister, so Takaichi, will aid gender equity, which from the outside might seem that way, but we know that her policies are actually very anti-woman. So I was wondering if you could share your thoughts on how will the contemporary political situation in Japan impact survivors of sexual violence, along with potential efforts to amend the systems in place that disadvantage survivors or those who are seeking justice.
Wow. Well, I wonder what made 3 ranks up, maybe thanks to Takaichi. But so this gender gap economy ranking is made, like you said, economy, but also education, health. What else was it? What was the fourth one? Politics. And I think Japan is so doing well when it comes to health and education. So we have so many educated, healthy women, but then they are not really active in politics and economy. Why is that? I don't have the latest number, but I think last year it was still like in Japan, the member of parliament, it was only less than 10% was women. And what makes me so hopeless sometimes, although I have to keep hope, is that it's so visible how many cases are out there, and the law has changed. The first time it has changed, it was updated was to 2017, right after I went public, and that year finally male victim can report the rape. Before it was only for female victim, which is crazy, and that was the first time in 110 years to change the law. And think about it, like 110 years ago, women didn't even have the voting right. And 2023, finally age of consent was updated to 13 to 16 years old. Like, what did you know about sex and consent yourself when you're 13? And in Japan, I didn't get any consent, education, and actually, especially in teachers' guidance, it teaches teachers do not teach students. To only teach the students about when eggs meet sperm, so nothing before. So yeah, even though age of consent is now 16, we don't really understand about consent, and so the law also didn't update to the degree to define the rape down to consent. So it's not really about consent still. They made some like if there are a bit of they made it a little bit better, slightly better, but still definition is not down to consent. So again, because the people who's sitting, the people who have the power to change are not really maybe listening or seeing, even it's visible. And so yeah, that's really a big question, but we have to start somewhere, and I believe doing this, in academic place or even film. I was believing if I could screen film in Japan, maybe we can have a space to talk about it. I don't know how long it would take, but yeah, we have to try. But the thing is, I had to double check of some of the politicians' name, how we spell their name, when I was finishing the film, because I want to put their name in a special thanks. And I found one of the politicians who was openly speaking about changing the law. He was really active on opponent party, but now he's at LDP. And it's disappointing. But then again, LDP has been in power almost all the time. So I guess, after the World War. So I guess if you want to have a power to change, you have to choose side. I don't know if that was, I really want to talk to him and ask what happened, but because his political view has changed as well. So, but I don't know if that's so you can blend in or, so. Yeah, that was a long answer, sorry.
No, that was really detailed.
Thank
you so much. And yeah, the question of, or I see a theme of, people who want to make themselves closer to power, right? And how that just leads to very disappointing dynamics and lack of support for survivors. And I'm still baffled that even feminists were critiquing you. That baffles me and also disappoints me. But yeah, Anne, did you have any?
Why don't we open it
Yeah,
up?
let's open it up. Okay, great. Okay, we'll start in the front and then we'll go down. And can you introduce yourself too,
Oh, okay.
if you feel comfortable?
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Yuqi, and hi, thank you so much for being here. I'm the first year master student from the Critical Asian Humanities program, and I first knew you because Duke has a gender studies class in the 2023, and we analyzed your book in class. Yeah, and after reading your book, and I feel really interested in the young girl who got raped, this kind of sexual violence cases. And my question is that there are so many sexual violence issues around the world, around different countries, and in some cases, the victim may feel both enjoyment and pain. And this enjoyment is their body enjoyment. And after they feel body enjoyment, and they suddenly feel guilty because they know that this action is rape, but why I still feel enjoyment through this process? So they may feel really guilty after they have this kind of body enjoyment. And sometimes when they people keep asking that, did you feel enjoyment during this process? And if the victim answer yes, and the other people may think that, oh, you got the enjoyment from this process, so this action cannot be regarded as a rape. So how can the victim balance this guilty and this they're angry after they feel enjoyment? Yeah, thank you so much.
For me, there was no enjoyment, so I don't know. But I think maybe some of the survivor maybe experience the body reaction, but that doesn't necessarily mean enjoyment, I think. So it's hard for me to speak for that, but yeah. I think what I've been trying to tell myself as a mantra is that I have to believe in my truth. And because, after I experienced sexual violence, so many people around me told me what to do, what should I feel. And only I could tell in the end, but I tried to not listen, but I know it was painful. That's it. And even maybe there is a slight something if someone crying, but that doesn't matter. You are the only one who can tell how you feel. So, yeah, that's it. And so if you know someone who's been through, I want to tell them, or I would wish you could also tell them that I'm believing you. You should believe in your truth, because that's what you can do to yourself. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bradley. Nice to meet you. I would like to firstly say congratulations. I noticed you, sir. It's about 11 years, so congratulations on 11 years surviving. I would like to ask you, because you talked about it briefly. Mentally, I know every day can be different. So, what advice do you have for not only surviving but mentally keeping strong and kind of avoiding suicide and handling those challenges?
I get this question quite a bit, and when I've been asked, I'm asking everyone, what's your coping mechanism? Because I'm also taking each one of your coping mechanism and taking into myself. Because before it was purely for me, box wine and cats, but seriously, wine is not that recommended, especially if it's box. I now I'm doing natural wine, which is better, but for me, surviving was really a finding truth, and making this film was almost like, I had 450 hours of footage, and looking at it was like exposing therapy session in a way. Like I have to remind myself, and it was hard. It was really hard. And but once editing itself took 4 years, but in the end, when I finished editing and when I screened at Sundance Film Festival, it really felt like something that I was always carrying on my shoulder are now of trouble and send it to people who I story up to, or people who catched it, who watched it. So that moment was really something special to me, that the first time I could use my own language, I could create something that I felt like I lost. And I guess that especially being, I believe I was drugged, but being raped and drugged, in not being having power, losing the controlling of my own body was a big thing. Like you feel like, you know, you've been driving your car, and all of a sudden you're almost like losing your wheel, steering. And that was really confusing. But the time I was able to articulate in the film, it really somehow was very healing. So I know maybe it's not for everyone, but I want to say if you have any trauma, if you experience any trauma, make a film, or write a book, or create something. Use your own word, and that's really, really healing. But yeah, I have another coping mechanism that I last year, when many things happened, I just had a backpack and went off to the Camino de Santiago, and I just walked 50 days from France, Spain to Portugal, and try not to look at my phone, and that's what I did. I know that's a lot to devote, but I did so many things to try to face it. I did Vipassana, 10 days of silence meditation, which was crazy because I talk a lot, and you know, that was crazy. When I had a bit of crash while doing the film tour, I went to see shaman because I was in Brazil. Or when I'm meeting my friends, we always go for really spicy food and I gather all the friends who's depressed because it's kind of work to sweat together. But every moment I really have to find the way to survive. And for me, to other survivors, you know, speaking up is not the to everyone and the only way. The most important thing is to survive. So I'm really happy the first thing you say was, congratulations on surviving 11 years. I really feel so too. How did I do it, you know? But I'm also believing in storytelling and believing in being able to communicate as a human being. And yeah, that's what keeps me going. But if you have any other coping tips, please do let me know.
You know, one of the most powerful scenes for me in your documentary was the scene where you're talking to your senpai women journalists, and you say, you know, I have felt so naked, you know, telling the story, being in my body, having the story, having this, you know, this burden, and now I feel that I'm blanketed by all of you. That was incredible. Yeah, that you could find your community, you could find these other people who would hear you and just be with you. I mean, sometimes I think just accompanying someone, you know, in their pain is an incredible gift. And you were able to ask for that, and they were there for you. That was incredibly powerful.
I also want to briefly say thank you for sharing the coping mechanism. I'm going to add spicy food to mine. So far, it's for me, it's just cuddling with my dog and playing video games.
Should we go here or? Okay.
I'll take care of you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the film. I really, really enjoyed it. I noticed that at the beginning, the film was sort of autobiographical almost, and very much shot from your own perspective, and then at some point it switched to more of a, you know, third person. You were the third person, so someone else was filming, and I was wondering if you could talk about that process.
Thank you. So the reason why I want to make the film is because there were so many amazing films that dealt with sexual violence and out there, but I felt like it was always filmed by someone else, and I felt like victims have been filmed in a certain way, and sometimes when even there is like a kind of like remembering the violence scene, and sometimes that's a bit pornographic, and I really didn't want to traumatize myself. But what I wanted to do through this film as a survivor is to show and try if I can let people try my shoes and see my perspective. So I want to put it the film chronologically, but it was a bit of challenge, because in the beginning I wasn't really thinking about making a film. I didn't even want to share what happened. But so in the first 2 years, I was just truly documenting everything to protect myself, because I didn't believe police wasn't doing my job, their job, and so I only have audio, and I had a bit of filming, but that was it. So that was like where we started. What do we do when we only have audio? We can't just start, film first, showing nothing, and so that was a challenge. But so when I went public in 2017, like I briefly said, I moved to London, and the person I stay with, she was say similar age to me, and she's from Sweden and video journalist, and we got along, we became friends, and I ended up living under her IKEA desk that goes up and down for 3 years. And so she was the one who decided to come to Japan when I had to go back to publish my book. And she said, you know what? No one can harm Swedish human rights. So I'm going to be your human shield. And she was tall and blonde, and she was really literally like my human shield. But she wasn't really a camera person. And when we were filming, it was all done by her and my friends. So everyone was like helping. And so there was no professional. Well, now Hannah is actually filming for Netflix and Nash Geo, so she's very professional. But that time we called it Hannah Effects because it was really like raw. And so I tried to make it like cut this part, because also she didn't speak Japanese, so I was always telling her what was happening, because it was almost like she was witnessing what was happening in front of us. So, but then I didn't want to make my film me speaking to camera all the time. So I tried to cut that images out and try to put what I was seeing at the time when I was having phone call, or what was I feeling, where was I? So I went to these places to try to film. But in the end of the day, nothing was stronger than Hannah film, because she only could film because she was my friend, and she was so intimate to me, and I think it's just overall we became good at filming. Yeah, that's why maybe the filming skill, it was seriously like our filming school 101.
That's also why the film feels so intimate, feels so personal, because you're right there.
Yes, yes. And also I couldn't recreate my words. Like there was no way I could like voice over, or there was, because I felt like I'm such a different person, even though it was me after a few years. So it was just pure chance, and the board from all of the amazing storyteller around me who decided to film. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Zifu, first year graduate student from the East Asian Studies Department. We met a little earlier in Professor Hassel's class this afternoon. And my question is on behalf of myself, my friends Bing and Yashin, because we were at class and then our conversation continued after class until now. So like as our conversation afternoon, we at one point realized that if this film, because we're Chinese, and realized that if this film was done by a Chinese woman doing a film in English about the systemic problems of China and have it being released in English press, it would never have gotten any of the expected support in China, and it would expand from a systemic, like a discussion and a protest against sexual violence and systemic violence and corruption into an escalated international political situation. Like people in China would go against it because they believed the filmmaker would be slandering Chinese identity or the country's visual and representation on the international media. So, and we know that China and Japan have their similarities, but also very different. So I think we wanted to ask, although the film is absolutely a powerful and piece of support for all survivors and all supporters across the world, what made you decide to make the film in English? And was there any perhaps a targeted audience that you really wanted to reach and wanted your film to touch?
Oh, is that why I couldn't screen my film in Japan?
There is something about.
But I was told that I'm not Japanese enough. Or if I'm
national
true
pride, I'm sure.
Japanese woman, I wouldn't speak such a shameful thing. I heard that many times, yeah. Well, I didn't have, again, like, because I wasn't really thinking about making film. And it just purely happened that my friend who helped me in the beginning was Hannah, who didn't speak Japanese. And the people who I got support was mainly from outside of Japan. And I mean, except my amazing best friends, of course. But then that wasn't just that. For me, like, I realized I was writing my diary in English, and that made me realize that something we didn't go to talk about in the classroom area is that when I woke up from the pain, when I realized this guy was on top of me, assaulting me, the first thing I think I told him was, "Yamete kudasai," please stop. And I was so polite to him, in a way, and it's because in Japan, growing up in Japan, born in Japan, you are told that you have to be polite to men and older people. And so it was just automatic thing, because that's how I was talking to him. And of course, in that sense, like, it didn't stop, and I was panicked, and for some reason I switched my mind and I say, "Fuck off, what the fuck are you doing?" And I don't know if that's the word that stopped him, but it somehow gave me power in a way. And since then I start thinking, I never actually didn't know how to express my emotion in Japanese. And even in Japanese, not just a polite way of speaking, it's also, if you're women and men, we have different way of speaking. How many people speak Japanese here? Everyone, great. Many people, wow. So you know, right? Like, if I say, let's say, stop it, in women way, it's more like yamete. And for men, you can say yamero. And men's way is more forcing than women's way. And if I want to say men's way, I have to like really like act like a dude, like yamero. And it doesn't work. And I just have to find a way to say it, and that's the only F word that I can find. And so it's just purely, I realized that I was so limiting myself with my own mother tongue. Japanese language is beautiful, but at the same time, it's shaping us so much. Thank you for nodding. Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the reasons how difficult to talk about feminism, because that feminists in Japan are already very academically speaking, they're really, so there. And I had some event before, and people around them were like, "Oh, sensei. And the way we speak, it's if it's Japanese, it's already very hierarchical. Like I have to be polite, and I like feminism and many things. You have to speak on the same level, same ground, and so that's traveling. I can't even speak anymore. But that's fucking trouble to me. Yeah, I have to teach my girlfriends how to say. Sometimes we gather and practice how to say fuck off because we don't have that words to say no. This is no. There's in Japanese saying iyayo iyayo mo suki no uchi, meaning no means yes. I like it. Like what the fuck? So I think it's I didn't plan because of the audience. It came, but I also maybe if I didn't know how to speak English, maybe I didn't know how to express it. So yeah, I don't know if I could ever speak out loud, only using Japanese, knowing Japanese politeness as a woman.
You know, the question is really interesting because I bet part of the reaction to the film is exactly what you're saying, that it's perceived to be you're showing the dirty linen of Japan in this, you know, and you're getting a lot of, I mean, it's been shown all over the world, you're getting a lot of press all over the world by a global audience. I'm sure that's in part what, I mean, other people here, right? Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to start off by saying the film was super inspiring. It was super amazing. I think the part that I was most inspired about was how you had the bravery and courage to speak up, not only just in general with the people around you, but to the public. So I was wondering what are some like words of encouragement that you would give to not only women, but just survivors to speak on their experiences.
Survive and believe in your truth. And I feel like, coming here, I'm so happy I could see your face and talk face to face and being able to, discuss about it. But also, not just the survivors, but people around survivors. Don't ignore it. Be active bystander. I was saved by so many active bystanders, and you see so many of them in a film. If they didn't do something, then I didn't maybe know my truth or what happened to me because I had no memory how I get to hotel and what happened. So I do really want to say also I myself, especially living in big city like Tokyo, I just a normal bystander sometimes, I see, but I have to, rush to my meeting. But then I tell myself, if I ignore it, it's gonna come back to me. It's gonna kill me softly. Like So, just question is how are we gonna be actors to something we witness in daily life? So yes, of course, survivor, yes, go for it. But then people around the survivors, what can we do? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shiori, for joining us, and thank you so much, Anne, for joining us.
Thank you. You're